I emailed you a little bit earlier on and asked you if you could come up with the worst of the worst and the best of the best legislation in 2009, and we were discussing that a little bit earlier. What was your idea of what was the absolute worst possible bill that could have passed in 2009?
Well, Dan, I tell you what, in my opinion, and some folks would probably argue against this, but there was one particular bill, I just think we can use our time more wisely. A bill that said that if you're in the slow lane, or excuse me, in the fast lane, you have to go a certain speed, and if you do not, you will be ticketed at a high price. I voted against that. We can just use our time better, and it's ridiculous. And a lot of people don't even know this. Governor signed the bill, but there are so many laws in Oklahoma's constitution. We have probably one of the largest state constitutions with all of these laws than any other state in the union. And we're the 46th state. So needless to say, we're a pretty young state comparatively speaking. But that law right there, I just thought, my gosh, that just doesn't need to be a law.
On the flip side of that, what was the absolute best? Now, I know that there was some best legislation that Governor Henry refused to sign,
right?
But what was the best thing that actually became a law in 2009?
Well, besides my laws, of course, that I passed. I would say probably the Tort Reform Bill, 1603, and that capped damages. A lot of people don't understand the whole tort reform issue, and even some legislators, that were attorneys, were obviously kind of not wanting to go that way, but it's badly needed for this state.
Mm-hmm.
Not only from an economic standpoint, but from healthcare costs as well, employers. The thing about it is, Oklahoma has been run by the trial lawyers and the association for years and years and years and years and years. It has cost us millions of jobs, which in turn causes companies from California, New York, or whoever, and especially during the economic times, they're looking to go to a state that will give them incentive to grow, to hire. The more people you hire, the more people you're going to be able to have property taxes out to. They're going to buy cars, they're going to buy food and gas. It's all sales tax. And the thing about it is, it's economics 101. The more you give, or the more you bring in, the more people are going to come in and jump on. So in my opinion, the bill with tort reform, and we need to go further. I mean, we really need to tackle workman's comp. That has really been an issue with small businesses here, and our big businesses, our energy companies, that really we need to tackle that.
So what, you were talking earlier that the best of the best in 2009 were other than your bills. So what did you contribute to the state of Oklahoma this last year?
Well, common sense, as I like to call it. The four bills that I introduced, actually I introduced five. Four are now law. Two of the bills dealt with county government bills. House Bill 1472 dealt with property that is damaged by someone. There's a reward. Current law at the time said if someone is turned in, convicted, it's a $100 fine. Well, I don't know too many people. I mean, $100 is $100. This law was probably written in 1921. My law, or my bill, raised that up to $1,000, which just gives someone incentive to, when there's someone out there at night damaging property, to the barns, to the county equipment, to all the stop signs and speed signs that you see on the rural roads with buckshot in them. I mean, it just gives them incentive to turn someone in if they are aware of it. Again, common sense. Another one of my bills was a bill dealing with Farm Bureau that I ran for them on their behalf, that dealt with annexation of lands and property, rolling it back to 2003 numbers. There's a lot of towns, Kingfisher's one of them, Woodward another one in my district, that continue to grow. And when you continue to grow, you're going into farmland. Well, the law back then said, well, if you've been a farmer, before you can build a barn, you've got to go down to see your city treasurer or your specs guy at City Hall to get permission to build a barn. Well, my law does away with that, rolls that back. If you've been a fourth, fifth generation farmer in western Oklahoma and you want to build a barn or sheep barn, pig barn, whatever the case might be, you can do that and not have to go down to the city government and get their permission. That's all this bill does. Now you have to have 50 acres or more, which is, a real farmer. Someone who only buys 20 acres may want to develop that into a housing addition or whatever the case might be. And that law does not apply to them.
So that would basically keep city code enforcement from saying in your pole barn for your sheep you have to have an outlet every 6 inches
Absolutely.
or
Absolutely.
all those cumbersome things that just keep adding.
It's unnecessary.
Right.
Absolutely. City officials don't want to do it, but they, according to that law, before we rolled it back, were mandated to do that. And then what I'm really passionate about is a bill that I'm going to reintroduce this year. And it's House Bill 1471, which is my tax-exempt bill dealing with the Oklahoma American Legion. There are 265 chapters of the American Legion here in Oklahoma. These men have fought for our freedom. They have fought for our right to say the things that we want, to worship the way that we want, and they don't have tax-exempt status. Daughters of the American Revolution in Oklahoma do, and other auxiliary groups do, but not the largest group here in Oklahoma. So that's going to be one of my main initiatives, is to give the American Legion tax-exempt status for when they sponsor Girl State and Boy State. Those are wonderful, wonderful programs for juniors in high schools across the state of Oklahoma. I was a former Boy Stater, and I just think it's a wonderful program. So that, when they buy food and buy materials and things along those lines, they're going to be tax exempt. When they have their annual coat drives, when they give back to the community. Again, this is what this is all about. This is common sense. When they do their coat drives, they will have tax exempt status. And it's not going to affect the state sales tax or state budget. It will affect each of wherever the chapters are. And I would be shocked to find one or two cities that would throw a fit. The fact that the American Legion wants to come in and buy several $100 or $1,000 worth of food when they have their pancake suppers, or buy coats to give back to the community, if they're really going to be upset about it, I'd be shocked. So I'm very passionate about that. I think that's the very, very least we can do for our veterans. And again, I have the utmost respect for those men and women who fought for our freedoms, and we're going to do everything we can to help them a little bit. My American Legion bill will be reintroduced this year, and I'm introducing 5 other bills that will help Oklahomans, rural Oklahomans. In fact, I've got a couple bills that deal with public safety. One bill that I'm very, very passionate about, and of course being a father recently this past year, is a sexual predator bill that I plan to introduce. Oklahoma does have some pretty strict laws when it comes to child predator type things, but I don't think we go far enough. I really don't, Dan. I see that as one of the most despicable things a human being can do to a child. And we talk about our children being our future. That right there cuts them off at the knees. And I think some of our laws say 25 years, a child predator case 1 or case 2, whatever the case might be. Quite frankly, it should be life in prison. If you harm a child who's 7 or 8 years old, who can't defend themselves, I'm sorry. And you're a 35-year-old or 40-year-old or whatever the case might be, right. I have no tolerance for that. And quite frankly, my particular piece of legislation says bare minimum 50 years. 50 years in prison. And part of the bill also says that if you are a sexual predator, you not only have to have your photo put up on the website, but your physical address, not a P.O. box, but a physical address, has to be on the website, and it has to be mappable.